was watching something on Joyce's Ulysses the other night, and the last word in that is just yes, 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 and I kind of like that. This kind of just affirmation, I guess, of life and people, but also quite non-specific, because I think the non-specificity of the piece is one of its key ideas. This kind of way of not hiding gender and this fluidity, this celebration of queer community, this kind of inclusivity, I guess, intersectional ambiguity. I think it's that thing with muralism. I think the scale, in a way, is what makes it political. There's scale and there's public. Anything that large kind of forces itself to some extent on the viewer. Like it competes for public space. It's in the world. It's not hidden away. It's like it's very much visible, and it's visible to everyone as well. There's that democratic side of it. I mean, I guess the original Pride and stuff as well was like a very political movement, isn't it? It's an activist thing, because the community was getting hammered from everyone, like whether it was the police or the media or British society. I think a lot of time people see their own struggle, but they don't necessarily look at other people's. I think that's kind of the point, isn't it? To not see it clearly, to not see gender as so in the box, not as obvious, not as identifiable, you know, like to not have to know in a way. Like I guess most people look at someone and they've made snap judgments on them instantly from what they look like, or their race, or their gender, or how they dress, or anything, you know, like, which is also why the figures are kind of nude, but not in a sexual way, more in like a kind of like sculptural way. Like the street belongs to the people, I think, and it should anyway. Like, I mean, in the age of neoliberalism and privatisation and whatever, I'm sure a lot of it doesn't, but it should, and I think ideologically it does. And for all the problems that it causes painting in the street, I think it's got a real beauty and power to it, and a sort of inherent political point as well, which I'm fascinated by. It just has to sort of exist as well in the city. It sort of becomes part of the image of the city, the tapestry of the city. You know, it's just off the Old Kent Road as well, and the junction with New Cross Road, and it's like that is a loud, at times, like aggressive street, isn't it? I love that street, but it's like, but it has to fight for its existence in a way, in a very different way to the kind of like the sanctified space of a gallery or a museum. I like the workmanship of it as well, and how it almost necessitates like interaction, whether that's because you need people to do it with you because it's so massive you can't do the workload, or the fact that everyone sees you working on it and they come talk to you and they become part of it, is a sort of powerful act. I've been living in the area on and off for the best part of 10 years, but I love the area as well. It's kind of just on the edge of what I sort of call the club mile, the kind of like underground queer club scene in South London, which I'm a massive fan of as well. So it's always been this interesting mix of things to me, this kind of like this place where I'll like find myself at 8 in the morning hallucinating and like seeing all this mad beauty, but also a place where I see a lot of aggression and violence and things going wrong. It's just such a mad, diverse world as well, that it looks like in some ways such an unassuming place, like such a sort of just off the beaten track part of London, like, but there's all these miniature worlds that exist within it that I'm still discovering, you know, like whether it's Colombian or Nigerian, or it's like Millwall football fans. It's just such a mashup of communities all coexisting, and even the painting itself's kind of got that tapestry quality. It's kind of got this kind of like this like big group portrait quality where it's like trying to represent a lot of things. But yeah, I think it's a mad and a beautiful area, and one very close to my heart. Even when the weather tells you not to do it, there's a right moment to do something, you know, and getting everything together, all these things coming into one place, because even just the logistics of running a mural, you know, whether it's organising the towers to access the height, or people's availability who are working with you, or there's a moment where it all comes together, and there's an energy in that moment, and I think it had to run with it. It's mainly me, Conrad, Armstrong, Diogo Gama, and occasionally my mentor and friend Patricio Forrester. But yeah, along the way there were also a lot more people who jumped on and off and did a few days here and there. Yeah, it's a really collective painting spirit. I think the best thing about muralism in London is that it's where I live in a way. Like, it's my canvas and it's my inspiration, and it's the world I know. I sort of see myself as a London artist. I mean, in terms of my like style artistically and the content of my paintings as well, I think it's very much in there. You know, these kind of like soft grey lights and this kind of artificial polluted colours. With the mural we've made, it actually feels and looks like South East London. It's got this kind of like slightly dusty, dirty quality, but also really beautiful. This kind of like soft purple light and all these like rich browns and greys, I think make it really, really fitting to the rest of the surrounding area. The worst thing is probably the weather as well, isn't it? It's just constant battle. But then again, even that seems to have made itself into the painting. This kind of like drippy, fluid quality that's running all the way through it. You know, I mean, painting in the rain will sort of do that for you as well. So I guess it's the fact you're not hidden, you're not separate. You're very much like part of this like street life, and there's no hiding from it. And not every step of that painting looks amazing. You know, like there are points where we're still sketching it out. You know, like. And sort of playing around with background colour and like putting things in roughly, knowing that we'd have to recoat it or that we'd put a wash over the top. But the parts of the painting there are times in the painting where it doesn't look like what you want it to look like, you know, it's a work in process. At that point there's some quite funny comments about it looking shit, but they all stopped towards the end, so hopefully we did a good job. Like, I guess just thank you to everyone who's helped, and to the corner, and to Wright's Eats for feeding us, and Five Bells for cheering me up in the evenings when I was knackered and cold and keeping me drunk. Yeah, and the little Colombian spot feeding me lovely fried goods. Yeah, corner shops keeping me full of sugar. And